going back to the summer blockbuster side of the past year.
And becoming my 10th favorite movie of 2014 is Godzilla. The American reboot of one of the world's most famous movie monsters did not have a lot of love in 1998. My sister still loves the movie, and I still liked it, but the acting part of the story was not good at all. For a long time, many fans had hoped that this would beat the shit of a Roman Emmerich movie, and boy, it did. There were some flaws with the acting, and David Strathairn's character monologue from the marketing was not shown in the actual movie, but it might be in one of the deleted scenes on home video. The acting that really stood out, though, was definitely Bryan Cranston's emotional performance. Aside from the mutal creatures, another bonus is showing that Godzilla proves to be more than just a monster. He's a good monster saving humanity. That could have been the story for the two canceled sequels to the 1998 movie. Overall, with a big scope, epic jump scares, and some good 3D, this is a movie to end all Godzilla movies.
At least until we get the sequel on June 8th, 2018, but that's just me. Another sci-fi 3D summer blockbuster from Warner Brothers to talk about next is A Little Improvement.
And that movie taking the number 9 spot is Edge of Tomorrow. This is another good example of what we say, another year, another summer blockbuster that receives critical acclaim and flops at the box office. However, this movie is filled with a thrilling story, awesome aliens, funny moments, and decent 3D. I didn't know how good it would be from the beginning, but I always knew it would be a fun ride. Hence, this movie is not only a dark sci-fi take on Bill Murray's classic comedy Groundhog Day, but it's a better movie than said movie. In conclusion, Edge of Tomorrow is pretty much tied with Minority Report as Tom Cruise's best film.
I don't know which is better, but both movies are definitely better than Oblivion and War of the Worlds combined. And now to take a break from the action-packed genre to talk about one of my most controversial entries on this list.
And my 8th favorite movie of the year is Winter's Tale. A lot of people won't agree with me on this, especially these so-called professional movie critics, but this is actually one of the best romance movies I have seen in a long time. Though this isn't just a romance movie that came out in time for Valentine's Day, it's a movie even guys can enjoy. I mean, Neil Gaiman loved it. If you love fantasy, religion, good versus evil, angels and demons, and if you're a hopeless romantic like me who believes in stuff like miracles, faith, and hope, then you should see this movie. Since this is also Oscar-winning screenwriter Akiva Goldsman's directing debut and his passion project, this emotional story winks at those who has lost someone they loved and care about, especially since his wife died of a heart attack in July 2010. Another important thing to mention is that the acting is incredibly superb. 3 of my many favorite actors are in this: Colin Farrell as the protagonist, Russell Crowe as the villain, and a surprise supporting role that nobody will believe, Will Smith as Lucifer, aka the Judge. That's right, Will Smith is the devil. He only appeared in 2 scenes, but boy, he stole the show and proved that even awesome actors like Russell Will have dark sides. Okay, I know the special effects on the horse wings are poor, but at least they make the much-ignored Titans franchise a hit when compared with Pegasus wings. And yes, this movie does make you question about the afterlife a lot. Also, I've read the novel before seeing the movie. I can already tell you that most of the book's fans are pissed at this movie. But in this case, I actually prefer the film adaptation. Seriously, the book's ending was awful and confusing. Thankfully, good old Akiva managed to give the movie version a happier ending. This film may be a critical and commercial flop, but I guess Warner Bros. Pictures isn't too upset about that, since it came out a week after. Well, more on that later. Overall, it's no Edward Scissorhands, but Winter's Tale is definitely a romantic fantasy must-see.
Now remember kids, it's not a chick flick, it's a romance movie. There is a difference. And I prefer, well, at least some romance movies. Just remember that. So, with that said, we move ahead to what I call the best Bible movie of the year.
And taking the number 7 spot, known as Son of God. When it comes to movies about Jesus, this film is really better than The Passion of Christ. I know it is selections from the final 5 episodes of History Channel's popular miniseries The Bible, with deleted scenes, but it really is a real movie if you're either unfamiliar with or haven't even watched the miniseries. It was just a decade ago that legendary scumbag Mel Gibson unleashed the passion onto our world, filled with brutal violence, gory scenes, a shitload of controversy, and South Park parodies. It was good, but it was made by awful studios, it wasn't in English, it was too gory, and it only showed the final 12 hours of Jesus and ended with a brief look at his resurrection. Well, the earthquake scene near the end is not as epic as said movie, and Satan has been removed due to the Obama comparison that occurred in the miniseries. That's just some of the flaws there, and the visual effects were not as awesome, but that's because, again, this is from the miniseries. However, at least we have a Jesus movie that covers a lot more than just the crucifixion. What's also unique about this movie is that it has one of the shortest end credit scenes in history of movies, like almost as short as a typical IMAX documentary. Anyway, I recommend Son of God to anyone who is Catholic, Christian, and / or believes in God, Satan, heaven, and hell. When you combine the greatest story ever told with incredible acting and an epic score from Oscar winner Hans Zimmer, this movie really is the Son of God.
So there you have it. Out of the 3 Bible movies I saw in 2014, Son of God is the best of a bunch. Now, with the Bible movie topic put behind us, let's move on to my final movie of the year.
And taking the number 6 spot is Into the Woods. All the musicals I liked before this were animated, and this apparently is the first live-action musical I ever liked. Well, okay, both James and Giant Peach and Enchanted were a mix of live-action animation, but Into the Woods is the first musical I liked that is entirely live-action. Anyway, it's a magical and classic fairy tale fantasy genre crossover that's been around since 1986 and came to Broadway a year later. After quite the development Helen went through, we finally have a film adaptation that is mostly true to the play. The fantasy visuals are amazing, the acting is spectacular, and the singing is very well done. Obviously, the main thing to point out here is my all-time favorite actor, Johnny Depp, as the wolf. He has the best scenes of the film, and his singing is great, but he looks more like a human-wolf hybrid, and yes, it's a small role. He dies like in a lot of Johnny's other movies, but hey, when you eat Little Red Riding Hood and her granny, you die, they get rescued, Little Red gives her savior a hood, and she'll make a new one out of you. Circle of life. Moving on, Chris Pine is hilarious as Cinderella's prince, and his duo with Rapunzel's prince, played by Billy Magnussen in a song called Agony, has to be my favorite part of a movie that doesn't involve Johnny Depp. There are also a lot of tragedies in this movie that shocked me aside from Wolf, but they also happen to play, hence why the movie stays true to the said play, and obviously I was shocked because I never saw the actual play, or any other well-known musical. All in all, if you love both fantasy and musicals and want to see a mixture of both that isn't animated, then here you go. It's not one of those saving the best for last type of movies for 2014. However, it's a great adventure that mixes fantasy, musical, comedy, and drama into one movie very well.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was my 23rd and final movie of the year. As we